Hey everyone, I just wanted to give a small little lecture that deals with a little bit of discussion. That's why I threw it into Edpuzzle, to kind of, be able to have those questions and have those dialogue kind of pauses in this video. Okay, so I'm going to try and make this video as short as possible, roughly around 10 minutes. So start the timer, we'll see if we actually get there. All right, but to start off with, I'm going to actually start off with a warm up, and that warm up being a quote by the Intellects of Confucius. Okay. The quote reads, "Lead the people by laws and regulate them by punishment, and the people will simply try to keep out of jail, but will have no sense of shame. Lead the people by virtue, and they will have a sense of shame, and moreover, will become good." Okay, so the two questions I have for you when it comes to that is, how does Confucius believe people should be led? And why does Confucius believe this is the best way? All right, so it should be a pause right now. All right, so moving on with this, we are going to be talking about Chinese belief systems, okay? And I want to make this very, very clear that I mean Chinese belief systems. Notice how I didn't say religions, okay? Why do you guys think that I actually did that? Why do you think I made it not religions or Chinese religions, but Chinese belief systems? All right, so moving on, the first one we're going to talk about is actually Confucius. So when it comes to Confucius, he was a cool dude to say the least. He was actually born to a very poor family in 551 BCE. But the thing is, it's a very well respected family, a very noble family. So a lot of leaders really respected his family and respected him. All right. When it comes to this, he talked to all these different rulers about how to govern and how to actually make society the best way that it is. Okay, he actually ended up becoming a great scholar as well, who wanted to eventually become an advisor to some local leaders somewhere. Okay, the big thing is that he did become a teacher and actually created a philosophy on social order and governments. He was appointed to the minister of the justice by Lu. All right. And according to legend, Confucius was so successful in spreading joy and courtesy and kindness that crime appeared to vanish overnight. Now, if crime it just vanishes overnight, it's, you're going to be well respected and people are going to be like, man, he's doing something right, to say the least. So, moving on a little bit more about him, he actually creates this belief system called Confucianism. I know, names it after himself. Okay, so basically, what this Confucianism is all about is that there's two basic principles. There is Ren, which is just a concern for others. Some people actually translate this to humaneness or kindness or love. All right, and then Li, which is what we deem as the appropriate behavior. Okay, Li sometimes translates to social rituals. All right, so different types of rituals that you'd see socially, specifically in China. Okay, a little bit moving on to Confucianism is some of the key things here is that everyone has duties and responsibilities within the society. And the big thing is that a superior was actually expected to be a role model and care for those beneath them, while an inferior would expect to show loyalty and obedience to them. That's why you see this image of the person bowing to the elder. Okay. Confucianism believed that, correct behavior is equal to stability. Okay. Moving on a little bit more with that, family is super important in Confucianism. All right. So this is my friendly reminder to, go tell your parents you love them, or whoever you live with that you love them and you respect them and that you really, really want to make them proud. All right. Or whoever that person is. Okay. Whoever that person is. But back in Confucianism and the beliefs of Confucianism, they believe in something called Phileo Piety. All right. So Phileo Piety is just the idea of like family comes first and you respect your elders. And there's a duty of this along with obedience and then the care for the parents and ancestors on top of that. All right. So give you kind of a nice little anecdote to this. This is where you see a movie. The cartoon is so much better than the actual live action. I haven't even seen the live action. I'm talking about Mulan. So when it comes to Mulan, I'm actually talking about the whole premise of the story, which is the daughter goes fights for the father, who, is, sickly. All right. Showing the idea of like respecting and obedience and caring for the parents. In her eyes, she's caring for the parents. Okay. So there is kind of a little anecdote for you there. All right. So when it comes to Confucianism, there's 5 basic relationships that you have when it comes to this whole idea of respect and obedience. The first one is going to be like the ruler and the subject. This is why when you get different emperors, people like always just bow to them. Okay. You see this in Mulan, you see this in all these different places. Now, that being said, the Song Dynasty and not the Song Dynasty, but it's the Sui Dynasty and the Tang Dynasty, we see rebellions. So, like, obviously, that's not I don't want to say the biggest deal, but it's going to be something that gets broken in Chinese history. Okay, the second one is the father and son. All right. Husband and wife. The wife is the one that is actually obedience. We're actually going to be talking about something that shows obedience in the Song Dynasty specifically. I want to tell you right now, it gets a little gross. I'm just letting you guys know that. So if you have a queasy stomach, like, let me know. All right. You have the older brothers and younger brothers. Notice how they said brothers. All right. Sisters are a completely different part of this kind of like social hierarchy of this relationship. And then you have a friend and a friend. Okay. That's just dependent on how the friends work. Okay. All right. Moving on a little bit more with Confucianism. The ruler has the responsibility to have a good government. Okay. If he doesn't have a good government, he's going to get rebelled against. Okay. Now, when it comes to this, they believe government leaders should be the most educated, and this leads us into the Scholar Gentry. And I already kind of talked about the Scholar Gentry a little bit, but it started in the Han Dynasty. All right, Han Dynasty, just FYI, Confucianism starts there. But the other thing that happens is that they create something called a civil service exam. All right, so the civil service exam in the Han Dynasty. So we're talking about way before the Sui Dynasty. That the wealthy could take to actually be government officials in government jobs for the Chinese Empire, the Chinese dynasty. Okay. And I keep mentioning the civil service exam because you'll see it get popped up a whole lot because it's such a big value in the Chinese dynasty or dynastic system throughout all the different dynasties for the most part. Except when we get to the Yuan. The Yuan is the Mongol dynasty, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. All right, so that's all I have for Confucianism. If you guys have any questions whatsoever, please let me know. We are going to be talking about Buddhism next. And when I say Buddhism, I'm not talking about Buddhism like a lot of people like to say. I'm talking about Buddhism. All right, so if you guys need anything at all, please feel free to email me. I will be here. Have a great day. Bye.